Today's episode is brought to you by Forvis Mazars.
SoundCartel.
From SoundCartel, I'm Nicole Goodman, and this is Business Essentials Daily. Do you fall into the trap of working too much on day-to-day tasks? That is, being too consumed by your product or service, putting out the inevitable spot fires, addressing issues with your customers and staff. As crucial as they are, it's equally important to step back and look at the bigger picture. Michael Fingland, CEO of Vantage Performance, encourages us all to re-examine our businesses with a 100-day plan. He says it starts with a strategic realignment. Michael explains what that is to Chris Ashmore.
Invariably, 98% of the time, you need to look for those 1 to 2 really fundamental changes to reinvigorate the business, secure the support of key stakeholders, funders, and high-caliber people, so you can then chart a course back to where you were or to continue that growth curve.
Well, you have 3 steps to guide businesses through a strategic realignment. Could you walk us through each one, starting with where are we now?
Yeah, so a typical first step in a strategic realignment is to undertake what's called a strategic review or a strategic options review. So it's really understanding what are the key issues that you're dealing with. Most businesses will undertake a SWOT analysis as well, but really what are those 3 to 5 really big key issues that you need to deal with as a business to either continue that growth curve or to turn the business around. And then off the back of that is what are the strategic options available to us with that backdrop. So it could be cash flow, it could be earnings, it could be significant social or employee unrest, whatever those issues might be, loss of key customers. So what are those big strategic options that you need to run through to work out how you're going to restructure the business to make it succeed? So that's the typical output of that. And on the back of that, you then come up with what that new strat plan looks like, cascading across typically the 8 key pillars of the business to address each of those areas, and then remodel the new strat plan into a 30-minute cash flow 3-way forecast, and then a detailed roadmap implementation program, which is typically managed using various online tools so you can keep people accountable so you get traction along the way. And you know if there's any bottlenecks coming up and you need to divert resources to the right areas.
The second one is, where do we want to go?
And that comes off the back of that resetting. And Jim Collins, who's a famous business author who has identified all the critical traits of long-term, highly successful businesses, those that got to 100 years, those that went through major industry disruptive events, those that have gone through major recessionary events and came out and beat the market 10-1. And he talks about the concept of confronting the brutal facts. And that's what that strategic options or review helps you to do, is you've got to deal with those confronting facts that this part of the business is broken or fundamentally the business has outgrown key people or key systems or key regions. So you need to have that information so you can then make those hard decisions and come up with those 1 to 2 big changes. So that's what that's about, is working out where we go to now, and then what does it look like financially? As I said before, you then model those big changes through your 3-way forecast and your cash flow so you can work out that it is a course that we can successfully navigate, and what funding will we need along the way to make that happen.
The third stage in planning for a strategic realignment is, how will we make it happen?
And a lot of that is around, and Jim Collins is also famous for coining the phrase, get the right people on the bus, if you like. So it's all about making sure, have you got the right people in the right roles? And starting with that core focus, because if you've got a mediocre team or you've got gaps in the team, then the odds of them coming up with that implementation roadmap and executing well along the way, the probability of that is not so high. So it's making sure, and you do that as part of that strategic review in step 1, is have we got the right people in the right roles? Have we got the right expertise? Are they the right level of expertise and experience for where the business is now? Because that's one of the big fundamental issues with businesses. The stats are proven around the Western world. 2/3 of businesses don't survive the first 5 years and 80% don't survive 10. So one of the common reasons why they don't get through to that 5 and 10 year milestone mark, and it doesn't mean they're making money, it just means they've survived, right, is that the business outgrows the management team or outgrows key people within the team. So you either have to identify that. So once you get through to 10, 15 mil, you've typically got through that first 5 years. The next biggest hurdle is getting through to 50 mil. And the reason why that's such a big hurdle going from 15 to 50 mil is the amount of upsizing and investment you need to do in people, systems, different capital structures is quite fundamental. And what you do to successfully get through to 50 mil, if you've got through to there unscathed, if you like, that will set you up to get to 150 mil. That's to give some context of how much work is required on your foundations. And a big one is, has the team grown with the business, or do they not have the ability to step up? So that's a really key part of it is have you got the right people in the right roles? Can they be trained up to that next level? Do you need to bring in more higher caliber people who have just got that experience to transition the business through to the next stage? That's one of the brutal facts that you have to identify and Vern Harnish, who famously decoded the Rockefeller habits of the Rockefeller Empire. And one of the key questions that he recommends you answer or ask the directors and the management team on a regular basis is, would you rehire everybody in your management team? And it forces you to confront that issue. And it may be that they're great, they've been incredibly loyal, but they just don't have the ability to step up. So you might need to hire someone above or invest in them in a very significant way from a training point of view. So that's the critical part of that execution phase.
We tend to do that with sporting teams, but we don't think to do that with business.
Yeah, a lot of success in business is emulated in sport, or a lot of the ideas come from sport. So it's quite common that a lot of ex-sporting champions, captains and coaches end up in business life, if you like, because the rigor and the impartiality and working out how to pull different levers. And you see it now in modern day football as an example, where you have to have a strategy for every individual player. Gone are the days where you gave the team a shout down at half time and they all came back all fired up. These days it doesn't work. One team member might need a cuddle, the other one needs the rev up, and every other issue in between. So you have to have that adaptability, which is what you learn as a coach of or a captain of a high performing sports team. So it's very the similarities are very obvious.
Absolutely. Well, also, I suppose when it comes to the strategy, it's about re-examining that on a constant basis too.
And that's where a 100-day plan comes in. It's a rolling 100-day plan, and that forces you to reset at least every 3 months. And most successful strategic plan executions or turnaround plan executions are built on the back of that 100-day plan. You'll have your overarching 12-month plan, but you chunk it down into those rolling 3-month periods. And that forces the team to really focus on what's the most critical thing to roll out this next quarter. And that can change. So you might have a 12-month roadmap lined out, but because market dynamics change, you might change the order of which some of those big initiatives are rolled out. So having that rolling 100-day focus gives you that time and that energy to refocus and then reinvigorate the team around that new key initiative or series of initiatives that you're now going to implement. And that builds traction and keeps that momentum going.
That was Michael Fingland, CEO of Vantage Performance. This episode of Business Essentials Daily is produced by the team at SoundCartel. Thanks for listening. I'm Nicole Goodman. We'll bring you more Be Daily tomorrow. Follow @BE Daily Podcast across social media and head to bedaily.com.au for more from the Business Essentials Daily podcast. SoundCartel. This episode was brought to you by Forvis Mazars. To find out more, visit forvismazars.com/au. That's FORVISMAZARS.com/au.